What's your favorite cut of meat? Hoof? Head? Udder? Join Sandra Miller as we talk about niche meat markets and much more on this episode of Food, Flowers, and Fun.
If you're the woman who does it all, farm work, housework, bookwork, homework, getting up at the break of dawn, this is the podcast for you.
How do you multiply by fractions, Mom?
Get away from the cares of the day. Free stock, root stock, feed stock, seed stock. Chat with women around the world who raise food, flowers, and fun. With your host, Kay Castrataro. That's me. Welcome back, everybody, to Food, Flowers, and Fun, visits with farm women and others from around the world. As always, we are sponsored by Penlight for Farmers, helping you to create purposeful farm lives full of energy, time, and abundance. And today we have somebody who has energy abundantly, and this is Sandra Miller from Painted Hand Farm. Welcome, Sandra. How are you today?
I'm well.
So I don't do a lot of small talk here. I've never been real good at small talk. So I jump right into everything. So tell us about the farming you do, how you got into it. You started out in California, right? And now you're in Pennsylvania.
Well, actually, I started out in Pennsylvania. I am from here.
Oh, so you started in Pennsylvania, went to California, came back to Pennsylvania. There we go. I missed that. My bad.
Yes. No, I come from a small town in Pennsylvania, and my grandparents escaped the orchards of Adams County to work in a carpet mill. And, to them, getting off the farm was a step up in life. And so, heaven forbid their children, or worse yet, even their grandchildren want to farm. And, well, I tried to do the corporate thing the way the rest of my family has, and, work with one company for many, 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 many years. And back then they retired from it. There's no more of that in life. So I had always wanted to farm ever since I was a child, and when I grew up working in a greenhouse across the street. When I left for college, I ended up working on a cattle ranch.
Oh, of course you did.
So, come on. I got to be a cowgirl. I learned to rope. I worked cattle from horseback. I gathered, it was like living in a movie.
Yes, one of my other Rachel Loho Florison, one of my other guests is a real old farm girl and rancher and cowgirl, and it was very exciting. Yes,
loved being a cowgirl. That was like the funnest thing ever in the world. And I thought, oh gosh, I want to do this the rest of my life. And I got married, and he didn't like even having a dirt driveway. So
cowboying was not for him, because that is far out away from everybody when you're cowboying.
Anything that involved agriculture was a no.
Oh dear.
And I even had to fight our hired gardeners to let me have my little tomato patch that I could weed myself. It's like, oh no, we'll hire people for that. So once I got rid of him, I was living in the center of a lovely citrus orchard. I started raising rabbits and turkeys for meat. And
talk to me about the rabbit for meat business, because that's kind of a niche market. Am I right? Like I know I grew up in an
It is.
area
It
that
is.
was
And it's
mostly
really
Italian, but
sad
we had a
because
Portuguese neighbor and they
rabbits are
loved
so
that.
highly sustainable. I mean, we want to talk, the big word sustainable. Now it's regenerative, whatever, whatever your flavor of the year is. But one working doe can produce 300 pounds of meat
Wow.
a year in an area of 3 by 3 by 2.
A year, 300.
A year. Yes, yes. The right breeds. I raised the Californians. The New Zealand's will give you even more meat because they're larger. They're very prolific.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. And I loved raising rabbits. We had a blast doing it. It was. I sold to the organic grocery store. I sold to the French restaurant in town. I really had a blast with it, and I wanted to have more. I was working at a software company at the time. I raised, I think, 25 beautiful bourbon red heritage turkeys. Now, keep in mind, this is in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was running them under the citrus trees using construction fence to
Oh
keep
my
them
gosh.
in.
Yeah,
This is,
you were cutting edge for the 80s.
yeah, this is what, because hey, avocados and citrus, free food, best tasting turkeys ever.
Those
You know,
heritage breeds really are outstanding. Yeah,
but
outstanding.
I can make a white broad-breasted turkey taste good too. It's all what they eat. What goes in their mouth is expressed in their meat, their
Mm.
milk, their fiber, whatever they're producing. So, garbage in, garbage out, which is
Yeah.
what we always said in the
Computer
technology
computer
industry.
programming. Yeah.
Computer programming
Yep.
carries over 100% into your farming. So, I was raising these delicious turkeys, and back then it was kind of fun. We didn't have an automatic plucker. I'd get a couple bottles of really nice wine and invite a friend over, and it was 70 degrees out at Thanksgiving, and we just made a day of it. It was fun. And this is what
Old.
I knew in my heart I really wanted to do. So, the house that I was living in needed to be procured by my landlord because their house was falling down.
Ah.
And, I kind of quasi got evicted.
Oh.
And I started looking for somewhere to live online. And there was this new website out called realtor.com. And
I totally love that, like that was when realtor.com first started. I love that.
yeah. So I'm messing around with this, and I'm getting frustrated because basically in this was in a place called the Ojai Valley. I could avoid a trailer in the bad section of town that floods.
Yeah.
And so, just as a joke, I ran my parents, the town I grew up in, the zip code, and up popped the farm that I rode horses at as a child.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, this is it. This is a sign.
Oh, you just knew.
I just knew. And I had been home earlier that year, and I was home for an extended. Normally, I'd go home for like a week, but I ended up staying for a month because I'd quit the job I was working at the time. My boss told me, oh, I'm sorry, you can't go for a week. You can only go for 3 days. Well, I'm not flying back east just for 3 days,
So
and
you quit.
I
So
quit.
so am I hearing that you quit your job so you could have a longer vacation?
I quit my job so I could go home and see my family. And, it was the opening day of trout season. That's my family's religion.
Oh, see, this is the priorities that I tell
It is.
people.
It
I'm
is.
like, when you're creating your farm life, it has to be built around the farmer and not like the farm, the structure, whatever other people tell you. So it's the same as with your corporate life. Like you can't just follow the job. You got to follow where your heart is, and your heart was going home.
Yeah. Well, when I went home, mother had just had a mastectomy, and she needed to go to the doctor. And my parents and my aunts and uncles were all still working at the time, and they're like, "Why are we going to take a day off when Sandy's here? She can take grandma to her doctor's appointments." And I'm thinking, like, wow, I'm not a visitor. I'm
family.
I'm in it. And I like that feeling.
Mm.
And so when this farm came up for sale, I'm like, this is meant to be. And I got about this close to buying it. And I found out that because it was in the borough, they had changed the zoning, and I wouldn't even be allowed to have chickens.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And it was a beautiful horse barn. And the whole thing I wanted to do layups. I didn't want a boarding facility. I've been around those. I'm like, no, just bring either your pregnant mare or your injured horse here. I'll doctor them. I'll make sure the babies are born, whatever. But I didn't want the politics of.
Yeah, that's a tricky world.
Yeah, no,
I used to ride at a jumping stable, and yeah, it's a really interesting culture. So you've got to be the right type of person to be involved in that. Yeah.
Not my
all of the showmanship. Like as soon as you get into showing anything. It's a whole different breed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but it is
just
different. And,
it's not my cup of tea.
Everybody is cut out for it. No, I'm not either.
So now I have told my landlord, hey, we're leaving on this date, and oh my God, now what am I going to do? My life is packed up. It's ready to go in an ABF freight trailer, and I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And as I was sitting in my office one morning, this 20-acre Civil War era farm popped up. And I thought, wow, this is really what I want. And I had my family go out and look at it. And my brother, who is a perfectionist, went along, and he told me everything that was wrong with that farm.
That's a good brother, I got to say. That is a good brother, because you don't want to walk in not knowing what it is.
Oh, that's okay. Believe me, we found plenty of interesting things over the years. I did. I wanted a project. The word these days is shithole. It was.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I took roll-offs. I had burn piles. I went to the hazardous waste drop-off twice.
Oh, I don't even want to know.
What is this stuff? I'm like, I have no idea. I bought this old farm. It's all out of the barn. They're like, okay. I mean,
lucky you didn't have the EPA showing up at your doorstep.
I went to, it was a mess. But, I turned it into a functioning and productive farm that I was really proud of. And, and I had some flaming failures along the way, like the bunnies. The bunnies didn't last through the winter, because cracking water bowls and dealing with bunnies in a barn that's not heated in the East is impossible.
Yeah, no, very different form of agriculture. Again, like things that are comfortable and easy to do when it's 70 degrees in the winter. Not so much when it's especially in Pennsylvania, where depending on where you are, like you're talking negatives for quite a while.
Yeah.
I lived in upstate New York. I know how cold it can get up there.
Yeah, it was -2 when I unloaded from market on Sunday.
Ugh.
With the wind chill.
Yeah.
So and the same thing. Then I thought, well, if I can't raise rabbits, I'm going to do blackberries. And we put in, a trellis and all these blackberry vines. And what happened was, I didn't know which way the wind blew in the winter. And it just whipped the canes to death.
Oh, no.
Every single one of my blackberry bushes died.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And I also moved here at the height of the plum pox quarantine, which meant it was illegal to plant stone fruit. So the thought of an organic white peach orchard, that also went down the toilet. Uh, at the time, I was still working for the technology company in California, and I was doing this, 6 weeks remote working, 3 weeks back in California. And
while you're rebuilding this
yes,
old farm and planting brambles that are
yeah,
being killed in the winter and bunnies
yeah.
that don't like the winter.
So the company was owned by a Pakistani gentleman, and the majority of my coworkers were all Muslim or European.
Yeah.
And so while I lived in California, I always sourced their goats for Eid.
Yeah.
Or, and I worked with a lot of people from the Czech Republic, and they liked goat meat, and I would get goats for them. And I'll never forget this one guy, Wakas, said, I'm telling it, they're like, how's the farm going? And I'm like, it's not going. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. And Wakas looked at me and goes, so why don't you raise the meat to goats? And I mean, come on, again, this is 2000.
Yeah.
And I plugged meat goats into my search engine, and it came back. Currently, the United States imports 500,000 carcasses to meet the current demand.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went, oh, this is going to be like shooting fish in a barrel. Yeah. And it was. But you had to raise them first.
So you hadn't had any experience with goats, am I correct? Had you had goats before this? You were just sourcing them, like you would find other farmers who had them and you'd bring them in. So
yeah, I had a stock trailer. That's why.
There you go. So you were a middleman.
I was the middleman. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you decided to get into these goats, and how did you start that?
I went out and I bought 2 goats. I bought Peaches and Cream.
Peaches and Cream. I love it.
And about 2 weeks after I got them, and they were just young goats then. My massage therapist was dating a Moroccan man at the time. And this guy calls me up and he goes, I want to buy goat meat from you. I'm like, they're still babies. He goes, I don't care. When you have goats for sale, I want to buy them from you.
Wow, that's awesome. You had a market that you did not advertise before you had a crop, even though you had you just jumped into it on intuition, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Omar was my first customer.
Yeah.
And he taught me about Eid.
Mm.
And, I'm a little white girl from Pennsylvania that grew up going to a Methodist church. I didn't know nothing about this until I first went, and worked for the software company. And I knew about Eid, but, all I did was hand the goats over. I was never involved in, what is it? How is it celebrated? Yeah. And whenever, he's like, hey, you wouldn't have a little blanket I could use. And I'm like going, okay, yeah, here's one of the Mexican blankets, I bought on my trip across the country, and, know what he was going to do with it.
So I'm curious, what did he do with it? Because
he prayed.
Oh, he was using it as a prayer blanket. Because it was prayer time at that time of the day? Is that what?
No, they always pray before they kill the animal.
So he was butchering it at your place.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, I was a little confused there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. I did the whole thing.
The goat.
Come to my farm, buy your goat, and
butcher it
here.
Right.
And then he wanted to. He says, "Do you have a place I could build a fire?" And I went. Here I have a Weber grill. You can use this. And he's like, this is wonderful. This is perfect. And he's rolling the head around in it and singeing the hair off. And he's explaining to me how you cook it. And I thought, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And, over the years, I just really ran with that. I let Muslims from all over the world come and butcher at my house.
Yeah, how cool.
And, it was so fulfilling whenever you'd see people, literally prostrate on the ground
Yeah.
praying. And they don't pray just for the animal, they prayed for the farmer and for the land. And it's just, this was, I just thought this was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what a beautiful example of what our world
could
was
be.
designed to be like. Yeah, we were meant.
Well, that didn't last long, because evidently then the USDA got wind of what I was doing, and they showed up at my door thinking they were going to investigate me for doing something illegal.
Ah.
Fortunately, I read the law. I know what's legal, I know what's not, and I know what I can get away with.
So farmers out there, before you go and start doing any things, make sure you know the law.
Absolutely.
Your
And
farm
then
lawyer could be your best friend sometimes.
I got involved with farmers markets. And one year I put a sign up at my farmers market that said, "I will have goats for Eid." And I had a gentleman from one of the local, I think it was either like the Legion or the VFW or one of those military-esque gentleman clubs. He sent out an email to nearly 100 people telling them to boycott our farmers market because we didn't support the troops, we supported terrorists.
Oh, okay. So, we're not a political entity here, but I gotta say, like that hurts my heart so much because this is one of the reasons I want this podcast here is so that people from all different backgrounds, different types of experiences can get together and can realize that, you know what, we can disagree on different specifics and still support each other in the things that matter. So just because you're selling meat for a Muslim celebration does not mean you don't support the troops because these people here, half of them are Americans to begin with. If not, they're either naturalized or a lot of them have got, you know, green cards and all of that kind of stuff. So they are residents here. Us
There's no
feeding,
such thing as an illegal human
I
being.
agree. I use
You know,
undocumented
one
because
of
I
one
can't
of
stand
my
illegal. I'm
one
with
of
you
my
on that one.
dearest customers that I have now is the humanitarian chef Jose Andreas.
Mm.
And I am a firm believer in what he says is, you don't build higher walls, you build longer tables.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that so much because I agree. I think that throughout our history, our diversity is what has really made us strong and resilient. And that when we're able to look at what other people bring that we don't have, like one of my dearest friends, college roommate, is Korean, and she came to the US when she was 5, but she was born in South Korea. She is still a Korean national, but she has a green card for the US. And she is one of the most amazing women I've ever met. And listening to some of the experiences that she has had throughout the world. Oh, you've got one of those tabbies too. Mine is not orange, but the tabbies love to be in the middle of everything. I swear, they're so funny. He's adorable. Um, but yeah, I think it's ridiculous that we have to try to create these barriers between us when really if we just were more supportive of each other, we'd all be in such a better place. Like I don't understand. I truly don't understand. But
Well,
fear.
I've
It's
been
all
keeping
fear.
track over the years. And in 25 years of farming in Pennsylvania and selling direct to my customers, um, I've I've had customers from 68 different countries.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I learn something new every time. And I think, the best part of it
Pennsylvania.
is they show up, you sell them something, you sell them the ingredients for a dish that they want to make that reminds them of home. that they can't get the ingredients anywhere else. And I figure out how to get them to them. And then they come back and like, so
And they
heads.
bring you a casserole dish that has something in it.
So heads are a huge one. I've really had to fight over the years with the USDA to be able to keep my heads. And there's a lot of meat on a head. And I don't care if it's a calf head, a pig head, a goat head, a sheep head.
Yeah, and they do that because of encephalitis. Am I right about that?
Well, there's a couple different reasons. First of all, if you don't use a captive bolt, and you use anything that's got a bullet, it's a no-go 100% because there could be a bullet fragment in there, and that's considered a contamination. For animals over 30 months with beef, automatically no. Along with all spinal material. That's why
mad cow.
Yep. That's why we quit having T-bones and rib steaks and porterhouses. And why they're so expensive now is because they can only come off an animal that's 30 months or younger. Other than that, it's all boneless steaks. And in sheep, it's scrapey. So sometimes I get my sheep heads back, depending on the inspector. Other times they won't. And it's usually a lamb head I want. And they won't. It's difficult to get them the way the Norwegians really like them because they like them with the skin on, but that means they need to be scalded, and that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a whole nother process that's involved that most processors don't do
and
because it's
really
a niche.
Good. I mean, literally, I'm a licensed HACCP manager now because I had to learn the law.
Yep.
And udder was another one.
Yeah.
Udder is a nice big chunk of fat. It's calories, and you can only use the udder off of a non-lactating animal.
And is there an actual reason, like a scientific reason for that, or is that just something that we're uncomfortable with? And it's
I'm guessing probably because of mastitis.
Oh.
So heifers still have little compact udders that are just a giant chunk of fat.
Right.
And
so interesting. I hadn't even thought about the udder part.
Oh yeah.
Says the girl who dairy farmed. The things you don't think about when you're like in your own, and this is why we need to talk to people who are different from us, because yes, I know all kinds of stuff about the dairy industry, and once those cows went to slaughter, I never gave them a second thought. I was like, somebody else is dealing with them now. And now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I never even thought about what they did with the udders. So there you go.
I'll tell you what, there's a couple other things off of cows that people eat that the USDA go, oh, no. But I'll tell you what, the Hispanic workers used to show up at an old butcher shop and they bought every single one of them.
So what was it? You're going to leave us hanging?
The vulvas off of cows.
Really?
Yeah.
And what is special about the vulvas? I mean, for eating purposes.
I don't know. That's one thing no one's ever prepared it, and I've never eaten it for me. But you can, there's videos online.
I can see what my browser will say when I go, how do you eat a cow's vulva?
Yeah.
What we talk about on this show. I love it.
What are some other good
Sandra, I knew you were going to take us places that we don't.
I had a Chinese medicine doctor who would come to me and say, "Can you get me this? Can I get this from you?"
Those are testes. I can see.
Oh, that's not what they wanted. They wanted what went along with the testes.
Yeah,
because they basically they dry it, stick it in some vodka, and call it Chinese Viagra.
Yeah.
Vietnamese Viagra.
That I knew. That I did.
Yeah. Gallbladders.
Oh, interesting.
tendons, pancreas, all sorts of stuff.
Which is so, so now you're taking me into places that I didn't expect to go at all. But the woman I spoke to last week, Jane Murner, is a composter, and she quoted somebody who had said that if you had waste products in a process, that you were doing something wrong, and that every process should be able to be cyclical.
Absolutely.
And so I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about it in the animals, and I'm also connecting with like the Native American culture using buffalo and how like they would use every part of the buffalo, and then the
Absolutely.
whites came in and we just shot them and killed them for like a little bit of meat, and we left these giant carcasses everywhere, or just for fun. And so I'm just really, I'm really struck by the fact that there are so many aspects, even in our food production, like the very basic slaughtering
Hey,
processes that we are wasting.
I've watched customers take a suckling kid goat who is still drinking its mother's milk and save the contents of the stomach, the milk, the curdled milk in an animal's stomach.
Really?
Absolutely. It's a delicacy.
Huh.
Basically like
Like foie gras.
curdled yogurt, natural yogurt. Yeah. I had
Oh, interesting.
I think they were um Bosnian refugees that whenever they slaughtered for Eid, they ate the liver raw immediately
Oh,
at slaughter. And the one man held out a piece of liver to me on the knife, thinking, okay, yeah, we'll get her on this one. And because I called him on smoking a cigarette during Eid, and I'm like, you're not supposed to be doing that. And they're like, how do you know that? No smoking during Eid. And so he offered me a piece of raw liver, and like a good goat farmer marketer, I ate it.
good bite of it. And
And
how
it
was
was,
it?
it was very
It can't be. I mean, liver, I gotta tell you, like, I know some people love liver. I have tried cooking liver with liver and onions, and I always overcook it. Like, I swear I think liver has like 32 seconds where you have it perfect, and then it's either not done enough or it's overdone. I always overdo it, and so I've given up on cooking liver. So I'm thinking that raw might actually be a better option for me
so
because I can't mess it
let
up.
me tell you. So I used to get so overrun on liver years ago. I made dog treats. I
Yeah,
didn't
of
want anything
course.
go to waste.
Oh, I would feed my dogs the liver when I had it.
I
Yeah.
dehydrated liver bits. Pet treats were like one of the
Oh,
favorite
that's genius.
things at the market. But
Dehydrate.
then somewhere along the line, some fitness bro influencer dude has a bunch of minions who insist on
Girl,
eating
for
their
liver.
liver raw. And I don't have to make dog treats anymore. My house doesn't, smell like a dog treat factory. Uh,
Wow.
it and oh, I got to tell you, some of the dudes that show up, mm, babe. So my fellow vendors always say, "Why do you have a whole gag of good-looking young men over at your stand?" I'm like, "They're all buying liver. They eat it raw."
That's really why you're selling it. Here we are, and you're giving us all this line about multiculturalism and diversity and inclusion, and it's none of that.
You
It's that
just
you
have
want
to
the handsome guys showing up.
every single time, you know.
Oh, you're a
One of
hoot.
my favorite lines is whenever they're looking, at my list to see what I have for sale that day, and I say, "So, darling, what looks good today besides you?" And here's the real marketing trick. If you say that to the older guys, they're
Oh
always
my
going to
God.
buy something from you.
Of course they are. Oh gosh.
You feed their egos, they feed your cash box.
Oh my gosh. So I'm I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my goodness, we have just chattered away here. And I love this. All of this has been so amazing because I feel like we've really gotten to learn. I've learned a ton and we've gotten to talk about some really cool stuff. So you're talking about your farmers market. Can you tell us where your business is right now and kind of like where you'd like to be headed? What your plans are and how you take
I've been
care of
doing this
yourself in the
market
midst of all
now.
this.
I've been going to farmers market in Pennsylvania for 23 years. I started going, and the last 17, I have done a market in Bethesda, Maryland. And I guess for about the last, I had workers that did that market for me while I went and did another market on Sunday that I had helped to start in the heart of DC.
Okay.
And that one, I love my customers, I love my fellow vendors, but it was just poorly run.
Okay.
And I'm the kind of person, I want things to work smoothly. I like I forget who said it, but your piss poor planning isn't part of my proper performance. And at the time, I was going to market with some other farmers who, same thing, get your act together. Incessant drama.
Well, that's it. There's enough
There
drama
were
just
some
being a
there
farmer. Like
were
you don't need to have it in your market. And the truth is that I,
no, and
there
here's
can
the
be a
thing.
lot of politics. Like those markets can have a lot of internal
Oh,
politics,
terrible,
crazy
and
rules. Like, and I understand why they do it, but some of it can just get to be really, really snarky, which is not
yeah.
helpful. It's not
Well,
helpful to the
the thing of
customers
it
or the
is that they
farmers.
want to run it like, this. I will never be a part of a nonprofit farmers market ever again.
Mm,
Because you know what? It's a business. And
mm,
too often people do not run their farms, they do not run their markets like businesses.
mm.
I'm this is my personal feeling on this. People that want to do fund themselves by grants, by YouTube channels and things like that. No, you know what? If you've got a farm, you're in the business of feeding people. Spend your time farming. Spend your time feeding people. It's hard work. It is. It's really hard work. And I this this year, whenever the Doge team took out all of the grants and NRCS funding and things like that, I heard a lot of people screaming on it. And I thought, you know what? This wouldn't have been happening if you would have been out there doing the work yourself. One local, one local. No, just hear me out here.
Well, I will hear you.
I like riparian buffers. Oh, we didn't get our money to do our riparian buffers, so now it's not going to get done. Well, I don't know about you, but I can go and I can get a bunch of free trees every year from a foundation that wants to promote riparian buffers and plant trees. I plant at least trees every year. I have a friend that works or is with the American Chestnut Foundation. She brings me trees.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. That
Getting
there's some
trees are
practices
plentiful,
that are
but you
just
know what?
good
They didn't get their
practices.
grant to hire the team to come in and plant their trees.
Yeah.
You know what? Get out there and dig the damn hole yourself. That's my philosophy. And they go, oh, I can't because I have an off-farm job. Well, do it in your on-farm time. Dig a hole, get out there, be in nature. I do this because I don't want to be sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of like I definitely feel like there are lots of different ways that we can be farming and that so I don't have a problem with people who are working like off-farm jobs and
I
all
don't
that kind of
either.
stuff. Like I think that is totally fine.
I did it. I did
I'm
it
not
myself.
opposed. I'm not necessarily opposed to using certain grants that are available. I do think that if your farm is operating solely on grants, then there's a problem with your business plan. And I would agree with you because
100%.
it's not sustainable. And I think that's more like I think that's more where I would like to go with that idea is the idea of sustainability and the idea that sustainability is not just about is the farming practice sustainable, but is the financial status sustainable and is the emotional and social health of the farmer and their families sustainable. So it's,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think you agree with that. So just to let people out there know, like you know, I'm not going to tell people that they shouldn't get grants because I know that there are some people whose farms were able to do things they could not have done
Oh, even I
without
have
the
gotten a
grants.
grant
I
before.
also
I
think
got a
that
wonderful
things like a
project
riparian
grass
buffer.
grant allowed me to a project grass grant allowed me to finish my fencing
Yep.
on
Yep.
my rotational browsing paddocks for my meat goat herd.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I got the grant because I was considered a socially disadvantaged farmer over everybody else who applied, which caused some problems in my community. But hey, I'm sorry, I was born this way.
I was born a woman.
Yeah, yeah, and
And the truth is that women farmers are socially disadvantaged in a lot of ways. And that, you know, it
oh,
is
I
in
know. I
it's
went for the
important
first
for
time
us
I
to be
went.
supporting women farmers.
After that, I have managed to fund my farming activities um, myself because I went to get a business loan for a pasteurizer one time because I wanted to make butter and they went, oh, you cannot make raw milk butter and age it like you do raw milk cheese. That we're not going to allow that. And I had a business plan. I had everything in place, and I went to the local Ag Choice Farm Credit and sat down and said, "Here we go. This is what I need." And you know, he patted me on my shoulder and said, "Sweetheart, we don't loan on hobbies." And
Ouch.
if I would have been asking for $250,000, he would have absolutely given it to me.
Wow.
I didn't want $250,000.
You didn't need a
I
quarter
did not
million
need it.
dollars.
But I'll tell you
This
what,
is where microloans, this
when
is
that,
again where
yeah,
a very strategic microloan is sometimes the best thing you can do for not only a farmer, but a family, even a community, because a strategic business decision can change all kinds of stuff. So did you end up getting,
no, I didn't. That's
you,
why I went into meat. I would have loved to have made butter, artisan cheeses. It just, it wasn't meant to be. I am the
Mhm.
meat lady.
And apparently you're really good at what you do, Sandra. So, sometimes I definitely go by that where God closes a door, he opens a window.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
you know, and
Absolutely.
again, so I want to talk about this a little bit though, because you've had some disappointments in your farming career. You've had some things where, as we've talked about this, you were planning on rabbits. The rabbits didn't really
Oh,
work
yeah,
out
yeah,
here.
yeah. Plan
You were
B.
planning on one farm and that didn't work out. So you ended up on a different piece of land. You were looking at butter and now you're selling sheep's head, which is
This
so funny. It
weekend.
makes me think of a Wisconsin card game called Sheep's Head that I learned in college. But anyway, that's a
Well, I'll
beside.
give you a perfect example. This weekend.
Okay.
Um, this weekend is we've got 2 weeks left before Christmas. Hanukkah started on Monday. This weekend, next weekend are going to be two of the big farmers market weekends, and I had gone down Saturday night to stay with a friend of mine who lives a couple blocks from the market, and I went out to a music event. And yeah, there was going to be some, I'm thinking like, I got ahead of the game. There's going to be some precipitation early in the morning, and I'm going to be over the mountain and here and not have to drive through it. Isn't this grand? And I got back to my friend's house and I walked in, and both she and her husband said, well, they canceled the market because we were going to get snow. And our market is located on an elementary school. So if the county cancels events at the school,
They don't plow.
we are not allowed to have the market. And I guess there were some complaints in the last month where they canceled events and it didn't snow, and then it snowed and they didn't cancel events. So they just the county decided to hedge their bets, and they canceled events, which included our market. And so here I am, fully loaded, and I've got pre-orders. I've got a lot of pre-orders. I regularly have probably 30 pre-orders a week.
You're selling specialty meats. Like you're
And
selling stuff that you can't always get. So
hey,
people
the
want to
money
put
was
their
in the
names
bag,
on that.
you know.
You only get one head per sheep. Come on.
So yeah, so she's like, wow, you get to sleep in the morning. And I thought, I have all these pre-orders. And she says, well, if you just leave them here, my husband and I will hand them out. And I thought, you're a gracious host, but I'm not going to make you do that. And then I also realized that would require my customers getting out of their car, going up to a strange store, and I thought, well, so I got on my phone and I figured out how to use my MailChimp mobile app. And I sent out a notice that said, hey, the market's canceled, but I'm going to be at this address until noon. So if you want to swing by and get your pre-orders or anything else you might need, I'll be here.
Excellent.
And then I went a step further, and everyone who had a pre-order that was paid for, they got a text message with the address in going, I have your product. If you don't want to go out in the weather, I completely understand, and I will roll it over till next week. Just let me know. And every single person let me know one way or the other.
Yep.
And the next morning at 9:00, whenever market would normally open, I went out in her driveway.
And you
I set up my stand. I set out my little sign. And I waited, and my customers showed up and picked up their orders, and the ones who didn't order anything but still wanted something, they stopped by. And even more fun were her neighbors that were walking their dogs through the neighborhood, walked by, and they were like, what are you doing here? And I told them, and they're like, what do you have? And I told them, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, I guess I'll come back and get some stuff. Oh, wow. No, I can get it right now. I've got my iWatch on. I can pay for it with my watch.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And I'm like, and here, let me get you a bag so you can carry everything. And off they went with their dogs, and with something more than a little doggy do in a bag.
So, I love this. There's so much about this. So,
and you know what? I rolled with it. I didn't make as much as I would have had it been a full-on farmer's market.
But you made more than if you had just turned around and gone home. Like if you had just turned around and go home, you would have had a loss. Like you would have had a loss because if nothing else, your time and your gas was a loss.
You got it. Yeah.
And instead, you were creative. You contacted your customers, which gave them a personal experience that not many farmers market vendors are going to deliver. Like that right there is a pretty impressive thing. And
that's possibly the key to doing well at the farmers market. You have to know your customers.
Yeah.
If people just want to go and buy food, they do it at the grocery store. I try to know as many of my customers' names as possible. I know what they like. And if they like something that I only get one or two pieces of, as soon as I get back from the processor, I say, hey, I've got this. Do you want me to put your name on it? And I do. I've had customers, they have standing orders for certain parts for
Yeah.
years. And they walk past and I'm like, hey, I got it right now. I'll come get it.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think that's a beautiful example of resilience and adaptability. And yeah, I just think that's an amazing, there's so much we could unpack there. And I'm looking at my clock and I'm saying, I am just about out of time with you. But I want to ask you before we go, the one question that I always ask all of my guests. If you had one piece of advice that you thought every farmer should have, what would that be?
you don't make money by what you sell. You make your money by what you don't spend. And I gotta preface this by telling you that um, last year I wanted to see Troy Bishop, and he was at a local conference where there was an older gentleman speaking about ranching and farming and profitability, and you know what, it was just such a validation. And he's talking about, this is what I don't spend, and it helps me to be profitable. And I tell kids that want to learn how to farm, I'm like, farming is the easy part.
Yes.
Farming is the really easy part. What the hard part is learning how to be the carpenter, the mechanic, the plumber, the electrician, the veterinarian, the CPA. You know, it's
Mm.
it's all those things. And this is why I like talking to people who come to farming from many other walks of life and
Mm.
see what it is they've brought with them, and they go, oh wow, I did this in corporate America, I can do this here.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
farming, everybody thinks it's about pretty flowers and tasty vegetables and cute little animals, and it's not. It's about a holistic life experience and being willing to learn, to try, and especially to fail.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, 110%. I think that lesson right there, like being willing to fail. I once heard somebody say that anything worth doing well is worth doing poorly, which is a switch on that whole, like, if it's, my family was always told, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing well. And I love the idea that, you know what? Before you can get to doing something well, you got to do it poorly because
Oh,
none of us
absolutely.
none of us are
Absolutely.
born being perfect as
And
much as we might like to tell ourselves that. So I just love that. I love that, being open to failure and knowing that failure doesn't have to be fatal, that it's something that just we can take it and grow with it. And I think your life story, I wouldn't call those failures. I kind of reframe that word failure a lot as challenges, because failure has such a
failure
finality to it, but I'm
failure
like,
is
it's not
nothing more.
final.
Failure is the experience that teaches you how to succeed.
Mm.
That's another one. I mean, like, so we didn't even get into this. I'm starting to move into my next phase of agriculture, which is weaving,
Mm.
using the wool from the sheep, and which is another huge rabbit hole of agriculture and farming and history and mechanics and engineering and math and of course marketing.
Yeah, but I'm noticing, I've been noticing your, is it a
Yes,
is it
my
a poncho type thing? Is that what you're wearing?
yeah, kind of a wrap. It's
And
just
then it looks
it's
like
cold.
there's some woolly type stuff behind you too.
Yes, this was
Yes.
this,
So,
this was my last breeding ram. His
oh.
name was Lover Boy. And I don't have any here close to me. I think I showed you the last time. So again, to be innovative, to waste nothing.
Yes.
I had lip balm made out of his kidney fat. I call
Amazing.
I call it Lover Boy lip balm.
Amazing. Amazing.
You know?
Sandra, I'm so thankful that you were on here. I tell everybody, I think I'm probably going to have like one season and just keep having people back over and over and over again because I just love, there's always so much more that we could get into with each guest. And I love that you're moving into a new version of yourself and your farming career. And I can't wait to see what that is like. And
It's innovative.
yeah.
You got to keep your mind, and in farming, you got to keep your mind exercised just as much. You do the same thing, make the same product over and over again. Honestly, I think that's why we have a mental health crisis in a lot of industrial farming,
Mm.
because they do the same thing over and over and over, day in, day out. They never get to see their customers never tell them, you know what, you raise the best, or it was the centerpiece of our family meal.
Yeah.
Honestly, there, you want to talk, we can get into mental health on farmers on that, but I really think that's what's caused the crisis. And if you
Yeah, it certainly can be a contributing factor
you
because,
have
you
to
know,
you have to
be validated and you've got to be doing something new. Like,
you got
and
to
it
be
and
doing
it
something
doesn't
new.
have to be a new crop. It just has to be learning and
It has
developing more of who you are
it has
and
to challenge your
expanding.
mind. It has to make you use your mind.
Yeah.
Your mind is as much a muscle as anything else.
And the more you can do that, the more easily you can take all kinds of challenges. And so I'm going to leave everybody with that. Challenge your mind, learn something new. Don't be afraid of failure.
And
Those
have a
are like,
good time doing it.
and have a good time doing it. I love it. Sandra, thank you so, so much. I'm so glad you were here. Everybody out there, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time on Food, Flowers, and Fun. Bye.
How do you multiply by fractions, Mom?
Farmers calling, our show is all done. Goodbye, farewell, so long, adieu. See you next week, same time, same place for Food, Flowers, and Fun. Go in peace. Visit us at www.penlightfarmers.com.